What is up? What is up? What is up, everybody? It is the best night of the week, the last Thursday episode, the last Thursday edition of Talkin SEC. We will be moving to Tuesdays going forward. But, man, championship weekend, man. Championship weekend. Big show, big time guest tonight. Y'all, Coach Tyler Siskey will be joining us. Me and Jamie tonight. Could not be more grateful that God has bestowed this opportunity upon us. And welcome in, Atlas. What's going on, bro? We got Coach Siskey on tonight. You're going to want to stick tuned, talking SEC time, right? Just me and Jamie. I'm going to invite Jamie. I'm going to send the coach's invite too. And we're going to get rocking with it. Cool. Glad you didn't freeze too bad out there today, Bubba.
Dude, it was a rough day. I ain't even gonna lie to you, brother. I'm just glad it's over. Just glad it's over. It was freezing.
It's going to be that way for me. What are y'all's thoughts on Kentucky? Hey, Jacob, if you stick with us, brother, we're going to get into all of it. Look, I took some notes, dadgummit. My hand is hurting. The notes was taken. And first things first, the verse of the day on the Bible app was, if you believe in Jesus, you may die, but you will never die. That is Coach Tyler Siskey joining us tonight, man. We cannot. Thank you so much for joining us, Coach.
What's up, brother? How we doing?
Man, we're doing great. We're doing great. We really, really appreciate you coming on. I know I'm in your lives all the time on TikTok, as much as it can be. And it's a big week. And you have Quick U, which is Coach's recruiting software that he runs. He's got multiple clients across schools in the country. So yesterday being signing day, the big time episode. It is the convenience of that really worked out. I didn't think about that till today. But yeah, Jesus died on the cross for us, y'all. We're really thankful this time of year, but we really should be thankful for any day that God gives us, really, because Jesus is good in all situations, in good and in bad. So all the glory to God for this opportunity that we have today, for the direction of talking SEC going forward. And I'm excited to get into basketball after football season. But we're here. So without further ado, let's start off with the SEC championship game before we get into the 16 teams in the Southeastern Conference and how they did this year. The top two were Texas and Georgia, two teams that met in the regular season, and the Dogs came out on top. Jamie, what are your thoughts on it so far, bro? Like just looking ahead to Sunday's matchup.
Yeah, man. I'm so excited for this game. I think it's going to be a really, really good game. Obviously, the first time these two teams met up, Georgia just did whatever they wanted. They had their way with Texas. They went into Austin and had their way with Texas, and that's not an easy thing to do, especially with the type of team that Texas has put into the league this year. And, man, I think it's going to be a great game. I think it's going to be a defensive struggle, really. I think if Texas has any chance of pulling this game off, though, because I'm picking Georgia to win the game, I think Quinn Ewers is going to have to play a lot better than he has in the last couple of weeks. I mean, it's not that he's playing bad. He's just, I don't know. It seems like something's just off with the offensive rhythm, especially in the A&M game. The rhythm was off offensively. Their defense has been elite. I mean, just shut down. They're locking everybody up. There's no doubt about that. But Quinn Ewers is going to have to be special. But I'm going with Georgia in this game. I got him somewhere in the ballpark of probably 21-14, maybe 24-14 for Georgia.
All right. I mean, I respect it. Quinn, supposedly he's dealing with an ankle injury. Now, I'm sure Coach has talked about this with national champion quarterback A.J. McCarron, who he coached in high school at St. Paul's, won state championship with, who he got the opportunity to work with. A.J. was there your first year at Alabama, wasn't he, Coach? Or was he gone?
His last year at Alabama was my first year.
It was 2013 game. We'll get into that. I'm not gonna make you watch the kick six, Coach. You said you hadn't watched it to this day. I call Cat. You haven't. How have you not watched that?
How?
How have you not managed to somebody's not being like, hey, Coach, at some point, just
if it cost you as much money as it cost me, you wouldn't watch it either.
Okay. I can't unhear. Auburn's gonna win the football game. Auburn's gonna win the football game. How do you?
I wasn't watching it on TV. I can tell you that. I was there in person and took the headset off and walked. I never saw him cross the 40. I saw him to about the 40. Then I went to the elevator.
And that
I just know that was brutal.
the 2 years he was at Alabama didn't win a national championship either.
Yeah, we won an SEC title. We played for won the SEC and went to the playoffs, and I guess that was the first ever playoff, 15. But yeah, did win one. We were actually better the kick 6 year. We were probably the best team in the country. We were not even close to the best. TCU was the best team in the country the next year, and they didn't even make the playoff.
Ron Boykin. Every time I think about how long ago that was now, I'm just like, daggone, because you've been in coaching as long as I've been breathing. So, like, you're
Making me feel old, man.
you got that job at what time of year what day in December did you call and that coach just randomly happened to be going back in the office?
It was like December 15th. I mean, like middle of December, middle late December. Not it was right before about 8 to 10 days before Christmas.
Yeah, I was getting ready to pop out and join the world because my birthday is middle of December, so we're coming up on a big 2-4 for me. And I know you've talked about it a lot this week, I'm sure. I've been in phone signal hell, so I hadn't really been able to watch while I've been at work like I normally do. Who do you have winning this game, Coach?
Georgia, Kentucky. I mean Georgia, Texas.
Yes, sir.
I think Georgia wins. I think Texas is playing better right now. I think they played really, really, really good on this past week against Texas A&M. I really didn't know what to expect from Texas. They hadn't really been tested besides the Georgia game. They haven't really played anybody, and they play with their food a little bit. Texas is one of those teams. I don't know if they're really, they kind of do what it takes to win. Even against Texas A&M, they were able to run the football when they needed to run the football. They were able to stop the run. They made several fourth down and short stops on defense. Texas A&M had their opportunities. The difference is the first game was in Austin. This game is going to be in Atlanta, and it's supposed to be a neutral site, but this is a Georgia pseudo home game. I think Georgia gets them. Probably something similar to what it was last time as far as difference. I just think at the end of the day, Georgia's defense is too much. I think they can force some turnovers and force them into short fields. Texas made some of the same mistakes against Texas A&M. They couldn't capitalize off of it. I think Georgia's a different beast, particularly in Atlanta. So I think big game experience. And look, been there, done that. Georgia's kind of got this thing with Alabama. There's a sense of mortality, right? So Texas kind of has this thing where they're immortal and they can beat anybody, but when they play Georgia, they got this sense of immortality. And look, it's tough to beat teams twice, but it's tough to beat teams twice when it's a close game. When you get your ass thumped like that, like they got thumped a month ago, that's not. They're not going to be feeling all immortal when they show up on Saturday. So I think, and you're going to give me Georgia as an underdog. That's a free square. I'll take Georgia.
What is it? How bad is Texas' favorite? I haven't looked at
Like 2.5, I think. 2.5. Mm-hmm.
We've called, we've done Talkin SEC for the back half of the season, and the way I see games that are 3 or under is basically a toss up, and they just pick a team. I mean, that's limited knowledge on how the betting goes. Like both of y'all know that I have retired from sports betting for a reason. Like I don't sports bet. Every time I do, I thought I put bets on both sides of the Super Bowl for Kelsey and Kittle and lost the Kittle bet by 6 yards. And somehow Travis Kelsey didn't score a touchdown in the Super Bowl. Don't understand how that works. Lost me. I could have won $400 on $10. It would have been beautiful. But no, I agree with both of y'all, Coach. Texas to me is they haven't played anybody but Georgia. I think that there's any team that is prepared for a letdown in conference championship weekend, it is Texas. I think Georgia beats them. Georgia's physical. Something about Kirby Smart. Just getting guys ready to go. Any time that I've seen anything that Kirby Smart has said or not said or allegedly said in the locker room, anything that I hear makes me want to run through a brick wall and scared to hell of Kirby Smart.
Yeah, they'll be ready to play. You know, it's a weird. You know, you saw the difference between like Georgia's a little bit different because they got the culture. I think culture plays this year. You know, it's kind of like defense travels. I think culture travels, culture plays. You know, when Georgia's in close games, they seem to they answer the bell. You know, I think there's a thing. You know, when you look at just teams in general this year, you know, you look at a team like Ole Miss. They won 9 games, went 9-3. All 9 wins are by double digits. 3 losses are 1-score games. You look at teams. Who was the other one we talked about the other day? You look at Ohio State, right? Ohio State's lost 2 games. They've won every game by double digits. Lost the 2 games they lost was 1-score game. You know, when you're getting a bunch of hired mercenaries and you're putting teams together like that, it's tough. Now, sometimes when you're playing another team that's another hired mercenary team, it may balance out. But I think culture travels. I think Georgia has it in spades, and I think in close games, culture rises to the top, and especially in adversity. And so that's why it's part of the reason I'm taking Georgia as well.
Georgia's at that 8 overtimes. I turn on the game at the end of the game thinking, okay, Georgia's might, come on, Tech. That game went to 8 overtimes. My fiance's like, damn, dude, are you going to turn this off? And I'm like, they keep scoring. And, like, I looked at her in the second overtime. I was like, ain't no way Georgia loses to Georgia Tech. Georgia does not lose to Georgia Tech. And they about did. And that just shows that they can win it because, like you say, culture matters.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's what I'm saying is like, a lot of teams would have shut it down. You know, they had a chance, they had every chance to quit in that game against Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech, they had their back. Georgia Tech had them on roller skates. They had their back against the wall, and they found a way. Just find a way to win, and that's what it reminded me of. Kirby's got it rolling, kind of like, in my opinion, it's kind of got the building rolling, like Nick had it at Alabama. Man, it's there's never a nobody ever thinks about losing. You expect to win, and you're going to find a way to win. And it's never over till the clock hits triple zeros, right? And you never even think about losing. You fight until the whole time. They did the same thing when they lost to Alabama, right? When they lost to Alabama, they went to they were down huge, and I mean, how many teams would have quit at halftime? And,
a lot.
They found a way to come back and make it a game, had a chance to win. So, I think they're a good team, and they've struggled a little bit lately. They play with their foot a little bit, but when they're rolling on offense, particularly, they've just had so many. They've had like so many drops and bad luck. Some of them are legit drops. Some of them are tip balls, but they have a tough time throwing and catching the ball sometimes. And when they're throwing and catching the ball. And if you see, that's something to look for Saturday. If they're throwing and catching the ball, it's going to be a long night for Texas.
I'm glad you brought up, Kirby being kind of close to Saban, because one of the questions that we have for you, and this is actually Jamie's question that he sent. So you were on the Bama staffs in 13 and 14. You dealt with recruiting. You brought in really good classes, and that's another question I'll ask you here once we talk about some of this, the way the season played out in the conference before we talk about signing day. What do you think it was about the way Nick Saban operated that very few people, in the only maybe, Bama standard operation we see is Kirby? What's made what Nick Saban did so hard to emulate? Like, what was it about the way it was structured?
Well, it's one is organization, it's discipline, and it's consistency, right? And one thing that he always preached was, he called it the fat cat syndrome. You never could be satisfied with success. It's one thing to get to the easiest part, and this is the most true statement that I've ever said or anybody's ever said. It's easy to get to the top. Anybody can get to the top. Anybody. You can have a flash in the pan. You can have a generational, once-in-a-lifetime team. It's easy to get to the top. It's very difficult to stay at the top. And it's very difficult to stay on top of the mountaintop. And the one thing that with that is just being consistent, your performance consistent every day. A lot of people know what it takes to be successful. A lot of people know the blueprint. The blueprint's not a secret. It's, are you willing to be that consistent and do that every single day of your life and over and over and over and over and over again, to where it gets boring, it gets monotonous. You think that you can't keep going on, but you just keep answering the bell every day and keep plugging, and everybody doing their job. The one thing, I've said this a bunch, you've probably heard me say it. The one thing that the secret to his success is he found a way to get 85 selfish assholes to play a team game. And it was the same thing with the coaching staff. A lot of egos, a lot of smart coaches, but a lot of egos on that coaching staff. Everybody answered to one guy, and everybody came together and did it together. And it's just as easy as that sounds. That's not done everywhere.
When you're talking about Kirby Smart and Lane Kiffin, and you had a decent coach pedigree at that point.
On that staff, we had Mario Cristobal, Billy Napier, Lane Kiffin, Kirby Smart, Tosh Lupoy was on that staff. We had obviously Coach Saban. We had Kevin Steele. We had Bobby Williams, Burton Burns. I mean, we had a bunch of dudes, and so just a lot of egos on that staff. A lot of head coaches now. A lot of guys having great seasons and all that stuff, and been able to put it all aside and do it for the team is something that's pretty impressive.
And I think that's something that is lacking in the modern game. I think that that ruling is coming down April 8th for revenue sharing. It's looking like it's going to go in the direction of revenue sharing. I think a lot of guys now, it's just okay, so I'm young enough, and Jamie's a couple years older than me, but the way society is now compared to when you were coming up, like when you graduated college, compared to now is completely different. We live in a give it to me now society. So all these guys that are hitting the portal over the last couple of days, some of them I'm like, do you understand that the grass ain't greener? Do you understand that some of these guys, Brian Kelly mentioned in his press conference, some of these guys need to leave the program. Some of these guys aren't with the culture that we need. Some of these guys, it hurts. Like a guy like Womack, to lose a guy like Womack with all that talent sucks a little bit. But a guy like Sampson that leaves a wide receiver, he got in and did make plays when he had the opportunity. And it's all about what can you do for me, not what can you do for the team. You know what I mean? And that's something Nick Saban was great about, like you just mentioned.
Well, I mean, here you're going to see some of the numbers are going to be bloated a little bit. Look, revenue sharing's coming in. You're going to have teams that haven't had a lot of money that all of a sudden are going to get an influx of money. You're going to have teams that have had money that are going to get more money. And so what you're going to have is now what you see right now going on in this class of recruiting, really the one that took place yesterday, is a lot of these teams are negotiating deals based on revenue sharing that they don't have yet, right? The money's coming in July, and some teams are saying April. I think it's July is more my point in time. There are teams that are trying to operate off of April, but I don't understand that part. But anyway, but long story short is you got players on your team all of a sudden got this influx of cash, and they're like, wait a minute, you're not just going to pay this guy X amount of dollars. He's not even playing a snap here. He's not going to make more than me, and I'm playing on. And so you're going to have a lot of guys that jump in the portal to get theirs. They have really no intention to leave. It's more like, hey, I'm going to go test the free agency market. I'll be back if I don't get anything, but I'm going to test it, or we'll force you to pay me to maintain the roster. And so with everybody getting money now, you're going to see a lot of that. And so some of those numbers, guys going to the portal, is going to be a little bloated. But it's a tough deal, man. It's the world we live in is a selfish world. That's what the portal is by nature. There's no salary cap. It's unlimited free agency. I really don't know what people thought what was going to happen. I've been saying this shit for 3 years, and I just feel like I'm beating my head against the wall because nobody listens, and we're right where I said we were going to be.
Yeah, I've gotten a lot smarter with my football knowledge listening to you, man. Like honestly, because everybody
that's bad, man. You probably lost about 5 points on your IQ if you listen to me.
Nah, look, I never played a down or real football in my life. I played baseball growing up, and LSU fan since 2011. And, finally got to watch LSU playing baseball this year. It was awesome. Well, last year. Got to go to Oxford. Way different experience at the baseball game than the football game because I sat in the bottom of the Ole Miss student section with my fiance sitting right there. And she got hit in the head with a beer can. So I feel really extra in particular about the way they be throwing things. It's classless. That's why you living in Oxford. I can't.
But I just want to. You ever heard that saying? Those in glass houses don't throw stones. You ever heard that saying?
I haven't. Maybe at some point, yes, sir.
All right. Well, there was once upon a time that I was coming out of the tunnel and Baton Rouge and Tiger Stadium got hit with a freaking wine bottle. So which one's which?
I get.
Welcome to the SEC.
Those in glass houses don't throw stones.
I kept trying to. Man, I kept trying to fight him. I wasn't going up there and getting jumped by the frat, though. I can tell you that. That was not. I done gained 10 pounds since I started actually eating right, which is good. But a year ago, I could not do it. Jamie, it's been me and Coach Talk. You got anything to like specifically that you thought about since Coach has been talking to maybe ask us like a follow up outside of what we already said we were going to ask him?
Yeah. So I'm really just now getting into following Coach. I've been watching, some of his stuff here recently, but I just kind of wanted to ask as well about your recruiting service. What goes into being able to do something like that, and just what made you have a passion to want to be able to do that?
Well, I did it for so long, right? So I did it for, I don't know, probably I did 20-something years or whatever. And, I had the idea when I was running recruiting, when I was at Alabama, was when I kind of got the idea. And then when I went to South Alabama, I realized what resources we had and didn't have and how to make it work. So it's kind of when the idea kind of formulated itself. And so basically what we do is we allow we make bigger, like LSU's a client, right? So we make bigger staffs more efficient in what they do. Because I do the same thing I've always done and using all the logistics tools. And so long story short, probably the easiest way to describe it is if you're going to bake a cake, all right, and you got to go to the store and you got to buy the flour, the sugar, the vanilla, the icing. You got to buy all these, the sugar. You got to do all this stuff, right? And then you got to get in your kitchen and you got to stir it up. And you got to make the cake and then you got to produce the cake. Well, I don't. And so if you're running a recruiting department, in the past, you've had to go, okay, I got to go buy this. I got to go buy this service, this service, this service, this service. You got to go buy all these ingredients for you to bake the cake and do a product, right? And so what we do is we just sell the cake. And so I know what it takes. Well, I know what everybody needs. And so I took all of the services that you need to run a recruiting department and I put it all in one spot. And I knew what you needed to have and all that stuff. And so that's kind of how I came up with the idea and what we're doing. And so I've been sitting on it probably for about 6 or 7 years. And I knew if I ever got out of coaching or wanted to retire or whatever it was, that's what I was going to do. And then really didn't have any plans of starting it when I started it. But, we got fired at Ole Miss and then the pandemic hit. And, I was on a free paid vacation by the University of Mississippi. I'd like to say big shout out to Ross Bjork. Love you. Great. Appreciate him shooting me the good 3-year contract on the way out the door. And so I was like, hell, if I'm ever going to do it, now's kind of the time. So we're sitting there in the pandemic and so we started spitballing and kind of just took off and here we are.
So that was one of my questions, was a little something that bounced off of that. So I popped in your live yesterday when you were talking about did you say that recruiting rankings don't matter?
Recruiting doesn't matter, period.
Okay. Well, you said before the dogs that you have recruited in the past, Coach, like the dogs you got to go to Ole Miss, the dogs you got at Bama. I don't know. I'm going to try to ask this question as if I haven't heard you talk about it for hours on hours at a time. What made you be able to get the guys that you got? Like, what made you such a good recruiter?
I was a terrible recruiter when I first started. I had to learn. I was terrible and I had to learn and, there's one way to learn and it's to do it. You don't wake up and just become a great recruiter. And again, I didn't do anything but work at it. I don't think there's an elevator to the top. I worked every day. I made sure, Lance Thompson told me. Lance Thompson is the one that kind of got I give him credit. He's now at Maryland. He was at Alabama at the time and I was a high school coach. And I told him, I was like, hey, I got this opportunity to go to Arkansas State as a wide receivers coach. He goes, let me explain something to you. There's a lot of guys that can coach offensive football and can coach wide receivers in the country. If you want to separate yourself, you got to be a great recruiter. I was like, well, how you do that? He said, just work at it 30 minutes a day. And so I took it to heart. And so I don't know. I went probably at that point in time, probably went, 15 straight years where I worked at minimum of 30 minutes a day on recruiting, 300 straight, like didn't take a day off for like 13 or 14 years. Like 30 minutes a day every single day. Christmas Day, it didn't matter. I spent 30 minutes a day on recruiting. And so, you go to your old 10,000 hour rule, right? And then, you learn, I was terrible. I know this is really going to shock you, but I didn't like talking in front of people. And so, didn't enjoy doing that. Was always, I felt like I was over prepared, and I can't follow a timeline. So like when I do the show now, I do the show, I got a very short list of things I want to talk about. Because if I look at an outline, I can't be myself. And so when I was a high school coach, besides the work ethic, when I was a high school coach, we had a bunch of good players, and I saw every team in America came in there. Every coach that ever walked earth came and recruited our kids because we had 5 national kids. And I saw how everybody recruited. And of all the people who came in there, the guy that stuck out to me, there's 2 that stuck out to me most. One was Vic Cunning, and the other one was Hawkins. That was at the time. He was the head coach of Colorado. He'd been at Boise and all that stuff. He was the head coach. And one thing that, Vic Cunning came in there, and he was like, he wasn't the used car salesman. He came in there and he was straight to business, very upfront, honest with the kids. And I'm like, I asked him, I was like, Coach, does that work? Because everybody else was like, hey, man, how are we doing, all that stuff? He goes, yeah, it works. He goes, they may hate my guts today in the spring. He goes, they may not like me, but by the time, he goes, the goal is to sign the kids. The goal is to sign them, not to recruit them. The goal is to sign them. Mm-hmm. And he goes, right now they're wanting to be recruited. They're going to want to get signed. And he goes, they're going to get tired of the used car salesman approach, and they're just going to want to talk to people. And they want to talk to real people. So be yourself. Don't try to be anybody else. And then the other one was Hawkins. And so he was the head coach of Colorado. He came by himself. And usually head coaches would come with like 8 an entourage, right? And I was like, Coach, you're the head coach. You drove yourself? And he said, shit, son. He says, I've been driving since I was 16 years old. I don't need somebody to freaking type in a thing on GPS and drive and do the shit myself. That's, and so that taught me, hard work, be yourself, and don't try to be somebody that you're not.
That's why my personality is just always shine through. I was wondering, because I've heard you say that, you were just straightforward. And we live in a world, like we've mentioned, is very selfish. I've always considered myself somebody that's unlike any other person that anybody's ever met. Like, I've got such a lively personality. I can talk to a daggone wall 45 minutes. It's something that, like, it sucks that just being real and straight up with people without being a dick is something that catches people off guard in modern society because they're not used to people being genuine. They're not.
You get called a hater these days. You're a hater if you're being religious. You're being straight up with them. You're a hater. Yeah. I don't call it being a hater. I call it being real. It's like the old, what's the movie? A Few Good Men. You can't handle the truth. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't believe. And look, if as much as I always said this, if we're doing a show, we're doing what we did episode, I don't know, 240 something today. If you tell the truth, you don't have to worry about covering up a whole lie. There's 242 episodes. Just be real, be honest, and if somebody's got, at least they can hate on your takes, but at least they know what you think. Just be straight up.
Yep, that's true. So when I got to doing some actual research, because I feel like this week I hadn't looked up your coaching career, nothing like that. Like I probably should have about 4 months ago. So I saw what you got your degree in from Troy. Of course, you started your career at Troy. Well, you was at Auburn, and then that senator, Mr. Tuberville, I was like, get the hell up out my program. I cut you this morning, whatever. Okay, so you go to Troy, and you got your bachelor's degree from there. What made you get a master's in education from Northwestern State? And did you plan on going into coaching, or were you going to be like a teacher, a PE coach, or like what was your plan there with that master's in education, coach?
Well, I was going to major in PE. I was majoring in PE at Troy at the time. It was Troy State at the time. And the only difference between a PE degree and a sports and fitness management degree was the student teaching. And so I had the opportunity to go to Northwestern State as the tight ends coach, but it was a GA job, so you had to have your bachelor's. And so for me to take that job, I had to have a degree. So I changed my degree plan from PE to sports and fitness management so I could graduate. I was going to do my student teaching in the spring, but instead I went ahead and got my bachelor's in sports and fitness management. Now the difference was that didn't come with a teaching certificate, right? So if you went to, which would allow you to coach high school football. And so when I went to Northwestern State, you had part of the way you got paid. Back then, the rules have changed now where you have to. But back then, in order for you to get paid, you didn't actually get your stipend didn't get paid through the football department. It got paid through the health and human performance department. And so in order for you to do that, you had to take at least 9 hours. So I took 9 hours. And so I was there a year. So I was only there 1 calendar year. And so I took 27 grad hours. And then it was a 33-hour degree plan. One was your comps and the other one was a internship. So when I left Northwestern State in 2001 to go to Arkansas State with Coach Roberts, I was technically 6 hours short. So I went back and took my comps in the summer. Newt Wilkes, my guy, he ended up letting me use my GA job at Arkansas State as my internship. So I didn't have to really do anything for that. So I got my degree in education with a concentration in sports administration.
I was kind of shook when I saw that. Like I was looking and I was kind of shook. It's crazy that like you sit on TikTok and you and Mr. McCready have your podcast. It's just the knowledge that you can soak up from people that have been there and done that. Like that's why I think Nick Saban being on Pat McAfee was very, very like cool last year to do it. It was also something that kind of told me that if Saban's doing this, he's probably going to be out. He ain't going on Pat McAfee. It's 2013. Well, Pat was still, punting in the league at that point. But, like his insights are like awesome to me. Bill Belichick is now on the Pat McAfee show once a week. That's awesome. And I personally, this is just my 2 cents on this. I think Nick Saban learned how to be what he was from the great coaches he was around, and specifically Bill Belichick. They were on the same staff in Cleveland. The last time Cleveland won a playoff game before Baker Mayfield took them, the Steelers led them in the playoffs and then they beat them in the playoffs, whatever. But I think Saban learned how to be Saban from Bill Belichick to me. Like his college is Bill Belichick. That's the way I've always looked at it.
Yeah, his mentors, Don James, Bill Belichick, Bill Parcells, so he's got, those are probably his top 3, probably not order. And he's touched a lot of people. I'm kind of glad that Coach is on, on game day and on McAfee because it's like, the guy's the greatest of all time, but you get to see his personality, and I think a lot of times you see him for what, that's kind of how we saw him the whole time, but he had this different persona of what people thought he was, and he's good people. He's a good dude. He's actually a very big-hearted person.
You don't stay married to somebody for as long as he's been married to Miss Terry for being a piece of crap.
She's the actual goat.
Yeah, she is. Miss Terry, I want to go back to college. LSU, man, look, it's worked out in a sense for us. But, man, we loved him first, Alabama fans. Just get it right. We loved him first. And the only reason – and think about it, if those doctors clear Drew Brees, whose jersey's sitting in front of me as well, the greatest short QB of all time, I don't care what anybody says, the under 6-footer. If they clear Drew Brees and they sign Drew over Dante Culpepper, the Bama dynasty damn near may not ever happen, like at all.
Yeah, that was interesting, that's for sure.
Man, okay. So I wrote down the list. I really appreciate your time tonight, Coach. I really appreciate the conversation. I know that I feel like I'm leaving my boy Jamie out, but we're just soaking up all this knowledge. So I'm going to run through the 16 in order right quick and give just a little tape. Texas, 11-1. They lost to Georgia. They have not played anybody. They have not played anybody but Georgia. And I think that this committee, which I don't even want to get into that because the committee changes their mind every week, what they want to do. Bro got notes. Hey, I had to get notes because I can put them in my phone and won't remember them at all. But Georgia, they lost to Ole Miss, which I called. I called it, okay? I knew Ole Miss was going to beat Georgia. It's like the one take I got right all year long. I'll take it. Tennessee, Jamie's balls right there. Sampson and that defense have led them straight into the playoffs, which is awesome. You're really a big fan of Nico, Coach. I know that. And I think next year he will be a guy, but this year he's just shown that he's, first year starting quarterback in the SEC, kind of like Garrett a little bit.
He's got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Yeah, that's probably his where he got he kind of not a slump, but when he kind of plateaued a little bit. He, when the pressure's sitting in the pocket and things like that, he gets a little happy feet and he's not very balanced on his throws and he sells a lot and it really affects his accuracy a little bit. But he's just got to be, with doing where they got him dropping and the mesh and the play action passing game and RPOs. He's got to be comfortable being uncomfortable and learn how to deliver the ball off balance. Now, when he's got his feet set and he can, it just comes out of his hand as natural as it gets. He's so arm talented. But again, when that's your problem, when you're an uncomfortable guy in the pocket, but you got everything else, it's going to come. It's just that's reps. And he'll be better for it next year. And then obviously that's probably going to be the last year that Tennessee gets the team next year. But he's going, as time goes on, he's going to get better and better because he's just, good Lord struck his laid his hands upon that right arm. It's magical, man.
Jamie got to see it in person this year.
I did. I was at the Kentucky game. Had a blast. One of the best experiences I've had in Knoxville. Night game in Neyland, dark mode, trying to make a playoff push. The atmosphere was just electric. And like you said, I watched Nico pretty closely as well. And when he's on, he is on. His issue is when he gets. He can get a little rattled sometimes. He doesn't really handle blitzes off the edge particularly well. But when he has protection, he's money. He's as talented as it gets throwing football in the country. There's no question about it. But like you said, he's got to work on being more comfortable. And in that Vandy game last week, that's probably the most comfortable. And I've seen him look in the pocket. Like he was doing all the dancing and running around, sliding in the pocket, stepping up when he needs to. Putting balls right on the money. That was the best game I've seen him play this season. So hopefully that continues going into the playoffs.
We roughed them up the week before. You're welcome. Will Campbell and Emory Jones put belt to ass on their defensive line the week before. Man, Will Campbell did declare for the draft. So did Mason Taylor. Expected that fully. Mason Taylor is the son of a Hall of Famer, but he's about to make his own name. And then we will quit saying son of Hall of Famer Jason Taylor eventually. I think Mason's trying to make his own name. Bama finished 9-3. I was right. I was wrong about the team. Bama finished 4th in the SEC. They lost to dadgum Vanderbilt. Okay? They lost to dadgum Vanderbilt. How do you do that? I don't get it. They got blown out by Oklahoma. Who else? Who was their third? Y'all. Tennessee beat them. And we got, and that's something that maybe Coach can explain this to me schematically. How does Jalen Milroe look like the second coming of RG3 1 week for 2 years straight and then every other? How does Oklahoma lock him down, Coach? And then he just ran over, a talented enough LSU defense like he did.
Because they don't have an offensive identity, which is odd to say 12 games in the season. It's when they don't incorporate the quarterback running game and just lean heavy on the running game. He's not a very effective passer in the pocket. He doesn't have great fundamentals. He's not overly arm talented. But he is an unbelievable athlete that's a threat to score every time he touches the ball. So you got to keep him on the field. But he's got to, when they're successful, he's successful. He does something with his feet. He's got to be moving. He's got to be making plays making plays moving, period. And at the end of the day, when he does that, when he's able to use his feet as weapons, that's when they're successful. It's what he did against LSU. It's what he did against Wisconsin. But when he's trying to become a pocket passer, you saw it last week against Auburn. The guy, he throws he's selling balls, he's throwing hella picks, trying to be a pocket passer. Like, they should have, once they left Baton Rouge, that should have been their identity from then on out. You know, I really did. I thought when they left Baton Rouge, they had found an identity. And no, they went right back to trying to go back to what they were doing earlier in the season. And there's just no offensive identity. There's just no consistency. When you don't have an identity, you have nothing to lean on. You have nothing to lean on. It's kind of like a golfer, okay? When golfers are going through swing changes and going through struggles, they have a shot, their go-to shot. It may be the fade, okay? And they may not hit draws. They just hit fades, whatever it is. When you're struggling, you got to have an identity to go to, you know, and they don't have an offensive identity. It's just, you know, they're trying to do probably too much with him. And at the end of the day, they got to line up and use him in the running game. And then, of course, you got the Alabama fans that are upset because, you know, Justice and Miller not getting carries. Well, you're not getting carries because there's one football and 3 running backs in the backfield. And the best running back touches it every snap. So, you know, that's kind of probably been their issues and why they're inconsistent.
It looked like you was going to say something. I mean, you got something you want to?
Yeah, I also wanted to speak on Alabama's offensive inconsistencies a little bit as well. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense with as talented as their offensive line is, and they're gigantic in the business. They're monsters. I haven't understood why they haven't really tried to force feed running the ball down their opponent's throats week in and week out. They have, Jan Miller, Justice Haynes, incredible running backs. They have all the talent in the world. So I'm not understanding why they want Milroe to be a pocket passer. I mean, you can try to incorporate that, but at the same time, as talented as those backs are, and it's just that line can maul. That offensive line can maul. I just don't understand it.
Well, they do a really good job formationing people and creating extra gaps. And so when you do that, one of the reasons, it's not the reasons, but one of the reasons that you know Miller and Haynes don't get carries as much is because, again, the best running back in the building is playing quarterback. And so when you're formationing people, especially in the quarterback run game, if you can get, you know, as a coach, if I can get the most explosive player on my team, he's got the ball, and if we're doing a quarterback run game, that's one less carry that the other guy's got. But I'm getting, and this is what they did against LSU, right? They crushed LSU with the bonus runs. And so what I mean by the bonus runs is they were scheming them up, but you're getting an extra blocker. The running back now becomes the lead blocker for the quarterback, and you're getting an extra body. And they had LSU so bad in run fits that, you know, they killed them, but they never that should have been their identity moving forward, and it hasn't been. And so you have to be able to do that. So you know, that's part of the reason though, is because the guy behind center is the best running back there is.
Do you think he goes to the NFL as a running back? Do you think he goes to the NFL at all?
Yeah, he'll go to the NFL. I think he's going to be a Swiss Army knife. You know, I think he's a Taysom Hill type, Braxton Miller type. I don't think he's a quarterback. Look, NFL is a different game. It's a throwing league. Any way you shake it out, it's a throwing league. And so, at the end of the day, if he wants to be a quarterback in the NFL, he's got a long way to go improvement wise in throwing the football. He's got bad mechanics. He doesn't have overly great arm talent. He's got a long release. I mean, we can just go on and on. He's a one slot thrower. I mean, we can just go. He's got lots of flaws to be an NFL quarterback.
Oh, they just told me it's 8:40 already. It's just nice to talk ball. But I keep her. She's my time recorder. I'm like, if we're going, you know, too rambling. So there's kind of like 6 key things that me and Jamie wrote down. And I've heard you say this before. I don't know how many people are watching and have heard you say this. You've said, at least since I've been watching you, whatever South Carolina's record expectation is, what, +2 or +3?
+2.
They went 9-3, and they don't claim the LSU game, okay? And I get it. The ref screwed y'all, okay, South Carolina. You got screwed against us. Because, Coach, the more and more I think about that hit against Garrett, it was Bush League because don't do that to my quarterback, but it was a perfectly legal hit. You know, like Garrett throws 2 pick sixes in that game that get called back.
They were penalties.
I mean, South Carolina fans aren't going to say that now.
They also think they should be in the playoffs.
I don't. So I guess you don't at all. Like, no, is it an all thing, or are they borderline to you, or what?
No, it's common sense. Everybody wants to look. I'm not, again, this is where I get called a hater. I'm just being real. I don't know why people don't want honesty. Okay, if it's 3 SEC teams, they're trying to get the top spot to get the Alabama spot, right? And one of them is South Carolina, and the other 2 are Alabama. I don't want to hear about how hot you are. I don't want to hear about your resume. I don't want to hear about your quality wins if the 2 teams you're competing with beat you. There is no resume. It ended. It ended on the field. That's it. That's the story. The end. There's no oh, we're playing hotter. No. There is no resume compare. You lost to the 2 teams you're trying to compare yourself to. What are we even why are we even wasting our breath talking about it? The end.
I can say the same thing about Tennessee fans right now, too, because they're really irritating me with the whole, if Georgia loses to Texas this weekend, then we should be ahead of them with a home playoff game, when in reality, Georgia kicked our tail. So,
I will defend Tennessee fan on this. The one thing that the only really thing, I was shocked about 2 things in the college football playoff. I pretty much laid out exactly how it was going to happen, except for 2 things. I didn't think Ohio State fell far enough.
Really?
I thought Tennessee should have been ahead of Ohio State. I do not think Ohio State deserves a home playoff game.
I don't either.
Okay, I don't. All right, after you no, we're not doing that. I disagree. I disagree with Ohio State. I thought they should have been 1 spot behind Tennessee. That's 1. 2 is I was really surprised at where they put Miami. I think there's a natural separator between maybe South Carolina. I was surprised they put them ahead of Ole Miss, but behind Alabama. I thought it would either be ahead of Alabama or behind Ole Miss, but not splitting them. So that was kind of the 2. It's not going to matter. Both of those are out anyway, so neither one of those are getting in. The field is set. The 12 are set. It's just a matter. There's only one discussion to be had, depending on an outcome.
Okay. Your boy Spider. Can you see the chat, Coach? Or no?
Yeah, I got it.
Because your boy Spider's in here. Your boy T-Gun's in here, too. The Cassie.
I see him over here. I can see the chat.
They was asking, so I had to ask you. So the playoff committee mixes their minds up every week, it seems like. So are you in the camp of Miami deserves to be out? Or
no? Yeah. Why would they be in?
I mean, they don't deserve it, in my opinion, either.
It's not. I love my guys down there, but I don't know what argument are we having?
Yeah, I feel you, because I've heard what you said. What you said about Cam Ward is, I think, what everybody thinks about Cam Ward. He holds the ball too damn long, like way too long. And when he does that, and that's the thing that we knew about the college football fans that even, like, I knew a little bit about Cam Ward, but I knew if Cam Ward was on and he wasn't turning the ball over, they were going to be special. But what was he? Inconsistent and held the ball too long, trying to make plays, and he messed up like so many times. And their defense is suspect at best.
Well, I wouldn't even say at best. That's what's holding them out, right? I mean, offensively they're fine. I mean, Cam Ward's that guy. Cam Ward is a dude. He could be better. Okay, he could be better. I agree with me. He tries to make a Sports Center play every play. He could be better for sure. But he's legit now. Now the on the other end, the defense can't stop a nosebleed. And what's their best win? Florida? Is that their best win?
Yeah.
Okay. They lost to Syracuse.
I mean, they've lost 2 out of the last 3 down the stretch to Georgia Tech and Syracuse, and the bottom line is, I said this today. I'll keep saying it. This is not a shock to me. It's a business. I don't have to agree with it. I don't have to like it. But me bitching about it's not going to complain about it. It's not going to change anything either, right? The Big Ten's getting 4 in, okay? The committee's going to have to make a choice on some. If Clemson wins this game, it's going to put them in a bind now. It's going to put them in a bind. If SMU wins, Alabama's in. Y'all can go ahead and write that shit down.
Yeah.
If Clemson wins, they're going to have to make a decision between SMU and Alabama. Okay? I could be dead wrong. If I'm wrong, it's the first time in the history of football. It's a business. It's about money. It always has been, always will be. The first college football playoff that we were in, okay, it was a 3-team decision to who gets that last spot between Ohio State, Baylor, and TCU. All three of them were not conference champions, and all three of them, or there was one conference champion, but the other one, it was Ohio State, BYU, and TCU. Who do you think got in?
Well, I mean, we know it was Ohio State because of the brand.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. And so if you're looking at it, and I'm going ahead and tell you what matchup they're setting up. They put it up in there yesterday. I would be shocked, beyond shocked, if when the seeds come out, they don't manipulate them to get these Big Ten SEC matchups. Nobody's going to want to see Georgia, Tennessee play again, right? So it's going to be a Tennessee, Ohio State. It's going to be an Indiana, Georgia. It's going to be Notre Dame, Alabama. But all right, so they got this Notre Dame spot. Who's going to play Notre Dame? Let's see. I'm trying to make money here. We're about money. That's all it's ever been about. It's all it's ever going to be about. Am I going to sell more advertising with SMU at South Bend, or am I going to sell more advertising with Alabama in South Bend against Notre Dame? Which one am I going to sell more?
Alabama. And this is what I've been telling you guys in the group chat is literally it's all about money.
It's always been about money. Always will be about money.
Absolutely.
And if they don't, and this is where they got to be careful. This is where they got to be really careful. If they put 4 Big Ten teams in, there's 4 getting in, okay?
Yeah.
And they only put 3 SEC teams in, I'm just going to let you know it's a business. They're going to take their ball and they're going to go home, and they're going to don't forget who met in January in Nashville. The Big Ten and the SEC came together and met in Nashville. They didn't do that because they wanted to hang out and go eat lunch and play cricket. Okay?
They wanted more than all of the ball.
They met. Okay? And so they'll take their ball and go home and break this thing off and tell everybody to kick rocks.
Yeah. I can see it.
We love college football so much, we know it's about money, and we're still going to watch. We still going to
I mean, but that's the thing. It's like, but that's the thing. Is like everybody's going to watch, and it's look. And you can say everybody's going, oh, we'll go to 16. I said this today on our show. Is like everybody. The natural answer, everybody's going to be like, oh, we'll go to 16 teams. Once you go to 16 teams, teams 17, 18, 19 are going to bitch, right? And so, I mean, there's 68 teams in the basketball tournament, and people bitch. So, it's kind of is what it is a little bit. And it's made it interesting. I'll tell you that. So it's got the anytime you got brackets, America loves brackets.
Yeah, the college basketball tournament is crazy. Kentucky crapped a bad against Clemson. Did you pick SMU or did you pick your new favorite school, Clemson?
I took the under 57.5,
Okay.
or under 55.5, I think that one.
Because Coach went to Clemson a couple of weeks ago to see his old pal Matt Luke. It's Matt Luke, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Matt Luke.
Yeah, and they played Star Spangled Banner. Everybody took their hats off the way America should be.
We had a prayer. We had a Pledge of Allegiance, a prayer. God bless America. The national anthem and a F-35 flyover. Hashtag America. America's team.
So I got blessed with the opportunity this year to go. I'll talk. There's 2 more points I want to hit. I want to talk about Vandy. I want to talk about LSU right quick, and then we can be done. Because we've already done game picks and everything like that. So Vanderbilt went 6-6. They beat Alabama. They hung tough with Texas. I got blessed by my dog Keontae Newsom, outside linebacker at Ball State, who, I mean, let's just be real. Keontae kind of underperformed a little bit this year after having it like 80 tackles last year. He had 60 something this year. I'm hoping that he'll pick me to be his agent. Why not? But I got to watch him live on the field and from the press box. It was crazy. I don't know if I can ever go back to the stands again after going to the press box. It was a great view. But Vanderbilt, man, 6-6, they might as well won the Super Bowl going 6-6. And I don't know.
Be careful. It's also why you got to be careful by setting your goals to go to the bowl game, because once they won 6, they shit the bed the rest of the year.
Yeah, they did.
You got to be careful. You got to be careful when you establish those goals at the beginning of the year, because once you reach them, there's nothing else to fight for.
Pavia sued the NCAA for an extra year of eligibility, so he's done, right?
Yeah, I don't know, man. There's part of me that thinks the law. I thought it got thrown out, but I guess it didn't. But I've been told it was going to get thrown out. But if the lawsuit goes through, it's basically saying that junior college it's not the NCAA, so it shouldn't count against eligibility. Is basically the deal. Look, he's got some basis in this lawsuit because what all the lawsuits have been after, while we're in the mess we're in right now, is because of restricted earning potential, right? You can't restrict people's earning potential. That's what all these lawsuits are over, right? Well, they got to be very careful with this one. If this one passes, what's to keep somebody from playing 15 years in college football?
Tate McNamara's going to play 7. Go get a job, brother.
But you know what I'm saying? Like you gotta there's no. Well, that's why he's playing 7 is because there's nobody wanting to. They're just going. Hopefully, he'll just make his case and be done. But like you got to be careful because if you don't, you're going to have 30-year-olds playing in NCAA football. And while everybody's like, "Oh, that's great," you're also like you're hurting opportunities for other people by doing that. And if that becomes a regular deal, because a lot of these guys aren't going to make this is going to be the next one. The next issue coming down the pipe, and again, it shocks me that nobody thinks about these things. It bothers me, is that all of these kids, and they're still kids, even though they're adult age, they're still kids. All these kids are making stupid money.
Yeah.
And in 4 years, they're not going to be able to. One, they don't have an education because they're not graduating because they're transferring all over the place and losing all these credits. The best job they're going to be able to get making a monthly payment, and they're going to be used to living this lifestyle for 4 or 5 years, and then they're not going to make it in the NFL, and then what? The next one's going to be all these kids that are broke and have no job. That's going to be the next one, and they're going to be broke with no job because they're not saving any money. They're going to be broke with no job at 22 years old with massive amounts of debt and bad credit scores. It's going to kill them.
Yeah, see, I might be broke, but I just got a second job, started that yesterday because it's all that we got to get married, and it ain't cheap to get married, Coach. I mean, I don't know how you and the boss lady did your wedding back in the day. I don't know how long have you been married now, Coach? I haven't.
Man, I've been married 21 years.
That's a blessing.
How about that?
Man, and I do appreciate when she had pneumonia. You checking on her and asking about her. That showed me that even though you started your career at Awfulburn, went to Troy, 2 places I can't stand as an LSU fan. You live in Oxford, can't stand that either. That you're good people, Coach, and I really do.
Hey, I'm a hired mercenary. You know what I mean? I bounce around. I'm a hired mercenary.
Oh, so you're just like BlackRock. Well, we ain't gonna go there. We ain't gonna go there.
I would have gone to Baton Rouge over the years if the opportunity would have presented itself.
Well, hell, if Kirby had hired you, you might be a national champion by now, Coach. I mean,
that was probably if I had one move to go back and change, that would be the ones. I probably would have stayed at Alabama one more year, and I probably would have gone to Georgia.
With old Kirby,
he's good. He's good people too.
Well, he scares us. I feel like Kirby Smart got some stories. I bet, man. How long you got to that NDA runs out in Alabama? Did you sound like a forever NDA? Because I remember you said that. It was like all your perks and your NDA. You got to sign them all.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't. No, I don't have anything. There's some things I don't. A lot of things go to the grave with me. I can say that. A lot of things go to the grave with me. T-Guns probably knows more than I do.
Man, see, that's why I love it. Like, just some of the stuff you've told. Like, and then AJ talking about the dude shitting in the dude shoes after the kick 6 game. I had never heard that.
Yeah, I wouldn't even have told that one.
I mean, AJ won your national.
I'll put that one on AJ. I would have told that one.
Technically 3. Do you count his red shirt year national championship or no? Does he count it?
I don't even know if I don't know if he counted. He's got a ring. He was actually in that game. He was the backup quarterback. I forgot what happened, but he was going to play in that game if he had to.
Good old Greg. I like him. I really do. I'm sure you've met him a bunch of times and know Greg McElroy, Mac.
Yeah, I've done their show a few times. I know Greg.
I like his comment. I think he's one of the best commentators of football, regardless of college or NFL. The last topic I want to get into. I do want to address the fact that you think Garrett Nussmeier is the best quarterback in the Southeastern Conference, Coach. I think the last 2 weeks of the year he was. But just like with Nico, he had to get comfortable first because he wasn't taking the check down to the last 2 weeks of the year. And that was my biggest issue and why I disagreed with you. I mean, you got way more knowledge than me, and you and AJ McCarron were saying it, so I know it's true. But like his inability to take the checkdowns is why I was kind of scared about Garrett. But it sounds like he's coming back, and Anderson's coming back, and hopefully Chris Hilton Jr. comes back. He's going to be that guy next year. And so my Tigers underperformed, Coach. Why did LSU go 8-4? Like why did we underperform in your opinion?
Well, it depends on what you call underperform, right? I mean, at the end of the day, I think it was defense. I thought they protected the quarterback all but, one game basically. They protected the quarterback pretty damn good all year long. But defensively, they struggled. I don't know why. I don't have a good answer for you. They struggled fitting the run, particularly last quarter of the year. They just really struggled with it. I don't, and teams that could effectively run the football gave them fits. If it was particularly zone concepts and read zones and counters and counteraction stuff, really struggled with run fits. They got formation probably too much a little bit. And it was kind of reminding me, when Aranda was there, the last time I guess I coached against LSU, you could always formate, like for whatever reason, and it doesn't matter who the coach is there. This is over many different head coaches and everything else. LSU's always been a team you've been able to formation and get advantages in the run game. And whether it be motion, formation, bonus runs with the quarterback or whatever it is, we've always had success with the running game quarterback runs in particular against LSU. Now, when I was at Alabama, we didn't do that, right? That's not who we were. But all the way back at Ole Miss with Hugh, I mean, I remember Bo Wallace. I guess this would have been 2012 in Baton Rouge. I mean, Bo Wallace, we formation and ran stretch and read it. Stretched back into the boundary and read it. And he pulled the damn thing and ran 70-something to the house just off of the way we ran a formation and 12 personnel ran unbalanced in the motion. And then in the 2019 year with Joe Burrow and all those guys, we formationed them to death. I mean, they didn't have, we were to the safety with a quarterback every single time. That's why Plumlee had over 200 yards rushing in that game.
Man, I like that guy.
Quarterback. And, but we've always been on formation, and it kind of seemed like starting in the Texas A&M game, people kind of went back to that a little bit, and it looked like they'd never seen read zone data in their life. The Fitz, what's my linebacker's name? 40. What's his name?
The Honky Badger. We top 10 in tackles in the nation and number 1 tackler in the SEC.
Well, he's not great against read zone, and he will come down and hit you. But if it's a moving target, he struggles fitting a run. He's over aggressive, doesn't have great gap discipline, and he missed some things, and the whole group, there were just too many cutbacks and too many gaps left unaccounted for in the run game towards the end of the year. And it really didn't start. That's the thing. It's like they matched up against Ole Miss because Ole Miss can't run the football. So they matched up better with those guys. But teams that could run the football, Texas A&M, who all they lose to?
They lost to USC, got Belfast against Alabama.
That was early.
Lost to Florida, which I called preseason. I knew he was going to go to Swamp and lose. I knew it. These guys.
The Florida game was weird. I don't even know how. I mean, Florida just had explosive plays. I mean, what was the snap count on that game? It was something like 90-something, 30-something.
Out-yard them, out first down.
Yeah, that's probably an outlier. Florida out just had too many explosive plays on the few snaps that they had. All right, so Ole Miss, Florida, Texas A&M, USC, and who was the other one?
Alabama. We got Belfast.
Yeah, so Alabama, same thing. So Texas A&M and Alabama kind of ran the same shit.
Literally. I just don't get it, Coach, because, okay, you coached against some of my favorite defenses of all time at LSU. Okay, so you coached against the 2018 team, which I've got the list of the names of the guys that were on the 17 and 18 teams. To me, the 2018 LSU defense is one of the most stacked defenses the conference has ever seen. They were top 10 in the country that year. With Jamal, no, maybe, no, 17, 16 or 17, Coach. When we had Jamal and Trey and Det, like all those guys that were on that team.
So 18 wasn't. I mean, I didn't think they were great in 18. I mean, they were okay, but I didn't think they were one of the greatest ever.
16 or 17.
It may be one of them years.
That's one of the most talented LSU defenses, one of the most talented in conference history. And the fact that, like, you sit there and you talk about what was the score to that game in 19, Coach? I know we beat y'all, but wasn't it? I can't remember if we blew y'all out.
I don't even remember the score. I mean, we got beat. We had it within one score in the fourth quarter. I remember that. We came back. They had a big lead. We came back.
Like, I mean, you were coaching against Patrick Queen, against Derek Stingley Jr., against Grant Delpit, against I wish Devin was on that team. Patrick, all those guys on that team, man, and like.
Well, you don't have to block them. Like, that's the thing, is like, you got to be creative when you're playing teams like that. All right, you don't have to block them.
You scheme around them. Like, what do you do?
All right, you run. We used to call it suckers. We'll send everybody that way. All right, and so if their gap sound and they're well coached, which the random teams were, they just play cat coverage every time. They play man coverage, so you were able to formation them and do shit with motion to get guys out of the way, and then you're reading them. Okay, you're either reading them or you're running suckers. You'll send the whole offensive line one way, and then run stretch on the perimeter. So you're blocking 2-on-2. You're not having to block 9 guys. You're taking guys. When you're playing teams like that and you're undermanned. I mean, I've been in the Sun Belt long enough. I know when you're outmanned, you find 2 guys that can block 2 guys, and you scheme the whole damn game around. And you find that it's all about matchups. And so if we're beating the box or we're beat on guys, then that's what we're going to do. We're going to in 2012 when I was at Ole Miss, we had the worst offensive line that's ever existed in the history of the NCAA. And we ran for 220 yards a game in the league. And 38 of our 39 explosive runs came outside the tackle box.
So you could get outside quickly.
You got to work the perimeter, and you got to and it's smoke and mirrors, right? It's all smoke and mirrors. It's speed, sweep reads, it's Q sweep power, it's all that stuff. It's all smoke and mirrors.
I like running the ball. I know I played Road to Glory. Well, I played a dynasty mode a couple different times. One year I led the country in rushing offense just because kind of run, you kind of run. Damon, do you have anything to ask Coach as we wrap up? Coach, we really, really appreciate your time. You got 20-plus years of experience, an SEC championship, a high school state championship, and have coached some damn dogs in your career. So, Jamie, you got anything to ask Coach or anything that he said that you want to circle back to or anything like that?
Nothing in particular, but I do want to thank him for being on the program tonight. I've just been sitting here. I hadn't said much because I've just enjoyed watching you talk ball. Honestly, truly, I love hearing stories. I've learned a lot tonight too, and I just, trying to take in the game as much as I can, especially with somebody who's been there, done that, has coached at the highest level. It's just awesome. So that's why I've been so quiet tonight. I just wanted to hear what you had to say. So thank you for being on the program. We would really have you back anytime, man.
Yeah, the first coach we've interviewed, the first player we interviewed was Jalen Collins, who's, from our neck of the woods. Fun fact, Coach Jamie bought a house right down the street from my mama. You can probably hear her hollering at them kids way too often. But, Jamie's a good dude, man. We went to school together. And the other fellows that were on this program have parted ways with us due to creative differences. And you miss a guy that knows just as much ball as me and Jamie, if not more. Our guy Jacob Wright, who's on our panel, he's a Mississippi State alumni. And he was out of town for work, so he's traveling back. So, Jacob, if you are watching us, safe travels, my friend. And we just, like the good Lord has blessed me this year. And I'm very, very, very thankful because, I started Busted Knee Sports earlier this year, and after doing a little LSU fan page stuff. Talkin Tigers is now a weekly wrap-up video since Tiger Bait and I parted ways, and I'm kind of fine with that. I'm a Kentucky basketball fan, so we got a big game against Gonzaga, and I know you've hinted at quick you expand into other sports, and I really hope your software gets into basketball. I think it would be awesome, but
yeah, we're looking into it. It's going to be something we're going to be doing sooner rather than later. I guess I can say that.
All right.
Come Monday, your Tennessee Volunteers will be the #1 basketball team in all the land.
Look here.
It
Look here.
doesn't matter right now, though.
I know, but
Hey,
So
Creighton beat Kansas last night.
it's going to be a really good year for SEC basketball. It's really, it took a year longer than I thought it was going to take. But this is the example. What's going on in the SEC and the basketball? I know do y'all talk basketball when it comes to basketball season?
We will once the playoff wraps up, or like we get.
Gotcha. So the thing with basketball, the SEC this year is it's took a year longer than I thought it was going to take, but it's here. Is you're seeing the difference between now all these other leagues, right? The ACC, the Big Ten, the Big 12, not so much, but you're starting to see it there too. Is all their collectives. The football numbers have jumped so much that they've had to spend all of their money on football, and they don't have as much money left for basketball. The SEC's got all this money, and in some SEC schools, Arkansas, Mississippi State, that haven't been really active in football, the reason is because they don't have as much money. So we're just going to be really damn good at basketball or good at baseball, whatever it is. And so you're seeing a league that's got more, like the disparity of the amount of money that's being spent on SEC basketball teams compared to the other leagues is crazy. I mean, it is nuts. If you look at how much money SEC collectives are spending on basketball compared to the other conferences, it'll blow your mind.
You look at the stats. I'm a Kentucky basketball fan, but that sounds weird. I don't even know if you know that before tonight or not. But
how can you be an LSU fan but a Kentucky basketball fan? I mean, are we bandwagon? Or what are you going to tell me next? You're a Colorado fan? Are you a 2-year Colorado fan too?
I respect Coach Prime. You know damn well, Coach, I had them going 4-8. Okay, don't come in.
What's next? What's next? You gonna cheer? You cheering for the Yankees in baseball too, or the Dodgers? You a Dodgers fan now?
I'm a Cardinals fan. Get it right. We live in Memphis, or I live in Memphis. I love AutoZone Park. Got to meet Kramer Robertson and thank him for his mom's national championship right after Miss Kim won that national championship. Okay, so that was really cool. Like every time Kramer would go up to bat, it was like I was 8 years old or something like that, and I just lost my mind. And Tommy White,
you can't do that. You can't. But I think we got to have a busted knee policy here. You can't be a Kentucky basketball fan at LSU. You can't go all LSU and then just advance. So let me guess. LSU turns out, watch this. LSU makes a run this year in basketball. You're going to all of a sudden come back to LSU?
I will
LSU.
not.
You can't do that.
Here's why. Okay, I say this reasoning, and it's kind of bullshit because, I graduated high school in 2019. We was damn good when I was coming up. So that was part of, my mom was a Kentucky basketball fan, okay? My mom don't watch basketball. My mom don't like sports, but she's about your age. She's a little bit younger than you. She's like 41, 42-ish.
God dang, you trying to put me in a damn grave? You making me, you just hit me with me like I'm down 275 years old.
You don't look like Gandalf quite yet, Coach. You're not there yet. You're not there yet. No, my mom was, come of age in the late 80s, in the 90s, and Patino was at Kentucky. And so she remembers this, Kentucky being pretty good back then. And I guess I kind of had that connection with my mom. And then when Kentucky got really good, I used to just play into that. My mom's a Kentucky basketball fan thing. And I'm not going to lie, when Cal started to piss me off, I kind of dipped away. Because Jamie got on me in the group chat the other day. He said, "Oh, so you only there because we good, like go back to being good again." I was like, "Look, it is what it is. But when you're trying to get your name out there in the sports media game, you'd like to get out the blue collar, because me and Jamie are blue collar guys they're coming together for this podcast, and like to get out the damn cold. And if I'm gonna be in the cold, at least be on the side of a football field, in Southeast Conference somewhere where cold is like 60 degrees. But yeah, that basically. But look, I watched the game. I didn't turn it off when we were playing like crap against Clemson. When we shot 7 from 27 from damn deep and hit 1-3 in the second half. But and you talk about collectives for college basketball in the SEC being big. Cal took everybody with him to Arkansas. Everybody. We had one player on the roster when Mark Pope got there. One. And he didn't even see the court last year. So having guys like Butler come in and Kerr come in and all these guys like Carr come in, got a lot of transfers, but we've got Pope has 3 former defensive players of the year. 3 of them, and I think that's gonna matter.
Yeah. Well, who was it? I mean, I'm sitting there watching. Who was I watching the other day? Was it Alabama or somebody? I don't know. One of these teams has got freaking every goddamn. I mean, they had like 7 guys that were like conference player of the years of the Mountain West. I'm sitting here going, everybody's come to all these mid-major like dudes. They're all coming to the SEC because of the money. And so, I think basketball-wise, you're going to see a big difference. And that's why you saw, 14-2, the AC. Yeah, look, you're Kentucky Wildcats. Maybe you jinx everybody, Nathan. Maybe you jinx. I mean, the SEC goes 14-2. 14-2. And your Kentucky Wildcats are one of the ones. Can you believe that?
We're the 3rd. Okay, they were 14-2. Now we're 14-3. Okay, look, that game was terrible. That game was terrible. But when you live and you die by the 3, and you get out physical, like Clemson was out. They had a dude had double-digit rebounds and couldn't hit the broadside of a barn shooting, but he kept rebounding the ball, so it was fine for Clemson. And what do they call their stadium? Their thing, Little John or something?
Yeah, I don't know. I saw it. I didn't go in it. I saw it when I was there. That's the first time I'd been to Clemson last week. I'd never been there. I never coached a game there or anything. That was the first time I'd ever been there.
I like Dabo. I really respect Dabo. I really do. I think that I agree with Dabo on the principle that like the transfer portal is crazy, and I think that I really do think like Tommy White's signature. That saying we like to say in Tiger Stadium that starts with suck that and ends with, bleep, bleep, right?
You can't say it on your own show?
I can, but I'm trying to be better. Suck that Tiger dick, bitch. Thank you.
There you go.
Okay.
I mean, be yourself, man. Be yourself.
Fill in the blank. Tommy White. Okay, so I wore this. My first 2 games in Baton Rouge, I sat behind the dish for Texas and LSU in softball. Tigers win. Right, beautiful.
All right, so hang on. Time out. I got questions now. So you're an LSU fan in every single sport except for men's basketball?
Yes.
It's crazy. It makes no sense.
I blame it on my mom, but we was really good.
No, so what happens when LSU's playing Kentucky? Who are you pulling for?
I cry. No, okay. Really,
LSU beats Kentucky in basketball. Are you excited or are you upset?
I guess I'm upset because I ain't never really liked LSU basketball. Kentucky was really good.
I've never heard this. I've never heard an SEC fan. I'm so interested now. I've never heard an SEC fan be a fan of every sport you just talked about fucking softball. Okay? Yeah. You're behind home plate in softball.
Yep.
But you pull for another basketball team?
Yes. Precisely.
That is the craziest shit I've ever heard.
Okay, because look, Coach.
Is it just me?
No, it's not just you. I could never do that.
What if you a big Tennessee fan? I mean, you're Go Vols, Rocky Top. Will always be home, sweet home to me. And then all of a sudden, Pig, Suey, Razorback, basketball.
No, absolutely not. Not
That's
a shot.
Different.
Not a shot.
It's a little different.
No, how? How is it different?
Okay, because
it's exactly the same.
When I became a Kentucky fan, nobody in the conference was good but us in Florida. Okay? That was it. Okay? And then when the rest of the conference called up to Calipari, he started sucking. I stopped giving a shit. Okay? We start coming back on Duke this year. I turned it back around. Now I got something to cover. And now we're going to be on Tuesday nights as of this coming Tuesday. So if you're watching and it's because the coach is in here, please make sure you drop a follow and tune in to the program on Tuesday nights because that second job, I don't work at Sundays. And yes, that's my point. Okay? Bandwagon fan as it may be, and back around now, yes. Because when I was in school, we was good. We had the Harrison twins. We had Willie Cauley-Stein. We had D-Book. We had Trey Lyles, which is cool being in NBA City and Memphis. Who did we go see last year with Ashton Daniel? We went to see, who was it? Grizzlies and somebody.
You got CTE now. See, it's not so fun. You got CTE now.
My mama beat the hell out of me, Coach. That ain't funny. And I don't mean whoop my ass because I was a smart ass kid. I mean hated my ass. That's neither here nor there. That's why I called Feinbaum so damn much. But hell, I called him the day after my knee surgery, Coach. Talked to Marcus Paul.
I'm just I don't even know how to I'm just shook right now. I've never seen such a diehard LSU fan just turn your back on your Bengal Tigers. You just the football season's over and you turn in the hoodie. You turn in the purple and gold for the Kelly blue.
Yeah, roll blue. Well, then baseball season starts, softball season starts, and boy, it's gonna be fun to watch.
All right, so what do you do? What do you do? What do you do when baseball starts before the end of basketball season? Like, what do you do? You put on the. What do you do if like? What do you do if?
I'm all in.
All right. Question for you: LSU's got a 3-game series at home versus Kentucky, and it's the regional final, and Kentucky's playing LSU in basketball in the regional final. Will you put an LSU hoodie on at lunch and then switching it to the Kentucky hoodie in the afternoon? What are we doing?
What happened?
What are we doing?
What the hell happened? Guess TikTok couldn't handle the bandwagonness. It froze Coach. And
am I frozen?
He's here. Was it? Is going? What happened?
I'm here.
It froze.
I'm here.
I guess it couldn't handle the bandwagonness. It froze. But no. What?
Am I froze?
No, you were for a second. Rephrase the question, Coach.
Rephrase the question. All right. So what happens in the spring when LSU's playing Kentucky in a 3-game series, and then all of a sudden they're also playing an SEC basketball tournament against each other the same day. You taking off your LSU hoodie there in the day and putting on your Kentucky hoodie at night? What are we doing?
I don't have any Kentucky stuff. Okay, I don't at all.
So you're not a Kentucky fan if you don't have any Kentucky stuff.
I wasn't. Oh, let me find. I got an LSU tree right here. LSU decorated tree. Shout out to my lady. I've got Kramer Robertson's autograph on this beautiful Old South hat. Use promo code WTO10 for 10% off with Old South Apparel. Thank you very much. Yes, I don't have any Kentucky stuff. Okay, I was looking the other night when we was playing, and I looked. Okay, I hadn't thought about it because, like I said, until we started coming back on Duke, I ain't give a shit. But I'm trying to make it in sports media, so I guess I got to have a shirt. But no, when baseball season starts, Coach, I wore this shirt that Tommy signed to. Okay, so that game was in March. Literally, like the last time I saw my grandmother, I was like, look, we finna go to Baton Rouge or whatever. And she was like, cool, we're happy for you, right, or whatever. I wore that to a North Dakota State game. That's how diehard I am. Because Tommy saw it. I was like, thank you, man. Like, good to see. Like, nice to meet you. Because I met Dylan Cruz in Oxford last year, and Dude Goss, and Alex Malazzo. Dylan Cruz is one of the most humble human beings I think I've ever met. He cracked a joke with me. I was like, Dylan, you almost hit one out there in the first inning. He said, yeah, maybe I need to get in the weight room a little bit. The next day was when he hit 2 home runs against Ole Miss.
Here's the other thing. I get confused. You keep saying we. I don't know if you're talking about Kentucky or talking about LSU. I get confused. Who are we talking about when you say we?
Oh, man. Oh, Lord. I walked into this one. I guess you find out now. I guess it's best you find out now, Coach, after I done been in there.
I'll just have to remember what season it is when you come on the lives. When you say we didn't do this, I'll be thinking about LSU. I'm like, no, it's basketball season. He's talking about Kentucky.
Well, I have to clarify. But no, I wore that shirt.
I won't have to worry about him. He's always Tennessee. It's true and true, Rocky Top. When he says we, he's talking about Tennessee. When T Gun says we, he's talking about Alabama. I know that. But with you, Nathan, when you say we, I have to check the schedule to see who's playing that day. Is it Kentucky basketball? Is it LSU football? Or is it Kentucky basketball and LSU baseball? But I got you. I'll figure. I got it. I'll get it good.
Oh, man, it was crazy to be at the box, Coach. I've been an LSU fan since 2011. And I became an LSU fan on some bandwagon stuff, but I stuck it out, okay? I stuck it out because, listen to me, this is going to make it even worse. You're going to shit your pants when I tell you what I'm about to tell you, okay? So
I hope not. That would be unfortunate.
I was in the 4th grade in 2010 when Cam Newton when Cam Newton was at Auburn, and they played the national championship, won the national championship. I was an Auburn fan that year. Okay, got called a bandwagon. Listen to me, stick with me, stick with me. I was 10. I was a kid. Stick with me. Okay, and I kept being a bandwagon fan, right? So that was 4th grade, 5th grade. You know, I'm kind of whoever was good. I get to 6th grade, right? And these guys are like, you got to pick a team. You a bandwagon. You a bandwagon. I was like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. So
they were trying to tell you the truth.
I stuck with LSU because of that, okay? And my ex-cousin-in-law plus a dude I was friends with was an LSU fan, and like it just worked out. I cut up a lot of my LSU stuff the day Les Miles got fired. That was a blessing. It was crazy.
I look forward to tuning in next week to see you wearing your Coach Prime shirt.
I respect him. I respect Coach Prime.
Well, yeah, you should wear one at this point in time. You'll fit right on in with the fan base.
One of his defensive tackles has actually been in some of my lives before, which is crazy. Also,
it perfectly makes sense to me now. It makes total sense to me now. Hey, and look, you should get the sweatshirt and the glasses.
We coming.
We coming and the glasses. You'll fit right on in with their fan base. Because look, they've only been fans for 2 years, so you're only 2 years behind.
Well, there's a lot of Bama fans that have only been Bama fans for.
You can't say that.
Respect Coach Prime, and you got me sold on Travis because I was coming in your lives. I was like Genty for Heisman, and you were like, plus, didn't he?
No, Travis Hunter's best player in college football.
Hands down. And Mike, I'm sure you know who Michael Lombardi is, right?
Yes, he's been on our show.
Michael, you like Lombo? I like Lombo.
Yeah, I've known him for a long time. When he was working, I was the NFL liaison for a long time for most of my career. So I got a chance to meet him and visit with him. He's good people.
He really does seem like good people. Every time he's on with Patrick Boyd.
Great conspiracy theory guy, by the way.
Oh, I bet him and Connor get along really, really. Boston Connor, which I used to not like him. Now I've kind of turned around on him. And have you ever met Pat McAfee?
I have not.
He walked 2 feet from me, like as close to me and this ring light are from each other when College Game Day was in Memphis. Took a picture.
I bet he had a Kentucky shirt on, didn't he?
I had to give you that one. I froze my ass off. I was still in the fire department at the time. Had just my fire department pullover on. Froze my ass off, but got to see like David Pollock and all those guys walk right in front of him, and got to meet Chris Felica. It was a beautiful time. I've actually been on Pat's show before, like this time, Super Bowl time last year when he was doing callers or whatever. I called in, and I was like, because at the time,
5-hour energy hotline.
Yeah, and hell, he read my comment in an Instagram live he did. I was like, bring it back, and he was like, you only remember the good calls, because remember that kid was like, hunt Boston Connor.
Yeah.
8.5. If your 8.5-year-old did that, I'm sure you'd beat their ass. Or whoop them within means of the law. I'm sure.
Oh, no. Mine run the show here. No structure.
Look, I happily put up the Christmas stuff this year, Coach. I was eager to put it up before Thanksgiving this year. We got 2 trees up, as you can see.
I got 2 up as well. I got 3 up. One doesn't count. One small.
One small. Oh, I got a little Avenel lady in here. You keep looking up at the Thursday night football game, don't you?
I am. I wonder if Q was in here talking trash a little while ago when his Packers took the lead, but he's gotten quiet lately since Detroit came back and took the lead back.
What's the score right now?
24-21.
What point in the game? Third quarter yet?
Third quarter, 5 minutes.
Ooh, you think the Lions have defense? Sorry, I said something about Lombo. I like Lombo. That's what got Travis Hunter is what got me thinking about Lombo, because every time he's on Pat's show, I'll watch it, the whole interview. Lombo was on there, and I believe it was today. Talk about he would draft Travis Hunter as a DB, and I believe you've said that as well, that you see Travis Hunter more as a DB than a wide receiver.
Probably as a DB. If I was advising him, which I'm not, I would try to get him to play wide receiver because they make about $10 million more a year than corners.
Yeah.
But not because, but he can play whatever. He's so talented.
There's no way he plays both sides of the ball in the NFL, is there?
I'm sure he'll have packages, but you can't play every snap.
Man, I'd like to.
He takes plays off. That's what people don't realize. He takes plays off. He plays a lot of catch coverage too, and in catch he can get vision coverage and kind of take plays off on certain snaps. But He gives himself. You can't do that in NFL because NFL is all cat coverage. Not a lot of zone in NFL.
Real quick, you say catch coverage or cat coverage?
Cat, C-A-T. I got this cat, you got that cat. Man coverage.
Okay. Yeah, because you see the plays he makes, it's incredible. Like,
no, he's got great balance and body control. He's got great instincts and to play both sides of the field. He's got great ball skills. He can track the ball. He is an elite prospect. Period. End of the day in discussion. He's probably got the best balance and body control of any prospect I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot. He's gifted.
Okay, I keep thinking of stuff because I ain't been in your lives lately because I just been working my butt off, like just trying to get these daggum things that are working now that I've got this damn second job. Do you think that Will Campbell, like watching Will Campbell, do you believe he's going to be as good as advertised? And do you think the false starts with the LSU offensive line, him having a bunch, means anything at all? And this will be the last thing we talk about tonight.
I think. What do you mean by the false starts meaning something?
Like, okay, so, like, I don't know. Does the false starts? Do you think that's more just like? Do you think that means anything? All the false starts he had, like, at all?
It means that he's up against a motherfucker on the other side of the ball. And he's trying to get an early start. That's what it usually means. I mean, but him. I mean, look. I mean, he's a really good player. He will be drafted because of the position's very difficult to find. Do I think he is a generational tackle? No, I do not. But I do think he, in this class, compared to the class, I think he's up there. I think that position, he'll be a first-round guy for sure. Do I think he's Penei Sewell or Laramie Tunsil or Trent Williams? No.
Okay, I mean, the projections that I saw, the most recent projection had him going. Jamie's unfortunately a Titans fan, and I'm a Saints fan. But I got a good reason to be a Saints fan. That ain't on a bandwagon. So we've been bad. I read Drew Brees' book, but I've got a family member that's buried in one of the Irish cemeteries on Canal. And one of those people in my family tree owned part of the land that the dome is on at one point in time back in the day. So, gotta look, yeah.
They sold it?
Yeah, they had to, when the city was getting ready to build the dome, they had to buy the land from a bunch of different landowners, and he was one of them.
Okay.
Yeah, right. I got to come with free season tickets for the Saints for life, but you know.
Yeah, they should have got a commission. They should have got some royalties on that deal. They got screwed on that deal.
I'm telling you, and I really hope. I know that Jamie told me it's like a 6-win bowl, the Music City Bowl. My tickets are in my car. If we get the Music City,
it's going to be a little different this year now.
Okay.
They don't have the same kind of tie-ins that they've had before.
Okay.
I think they should be.
So, because you got to remember this, right? Is there's 12 teams in the playoffs, okay, and the 12 teams in the playoffs are going, and it's a first round games are on the bye or whatever, and so there's when you finally get, there's basically 4 extra spots of bowl games, and so the top tier bowls are going to drop down basically a rung. And so Music City may be a little better than the 6-win this year. It may be, you may end up getting an 8 or 9 win team in there.
Hey, we get there, Coach. We getting up early, we going, and we coming back home because I don't have the extra.
I say that too. I think Vegas is getting a good team this year. It's not going to be a 6-win SEC team. I think there's going to be a higher win SEC team in Vegas this year too.
I've seen projections. A lot of projections say A&M's going out to Vegas.
Yeah, you're going to get a better team in Vegas than what's been in the past. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Lower the Liberty Bowl prices for the 2 shitty teams that we're going to have play in it. Lower the Liberty Bowl prices. I got to see Drew Lock's last college game from there. That was.
Well, you're not going to see anybody pertinent's last college game because they're going to be opting out.
Oh,
yeah.
for sure.
They are. Will Campbell. I mean, at least I got to see Will up close and personal last year. And, you know, Jaden Daniels in his Heisman season. But, yeah, we're going an hour and a half longer. And we're going, you know, an hour and 33 minutes. But this is what it feels like I'm just in your live, basically.
Oh, you're good, man. You're good.
Getting to actually ask these questions. And I'll let you, Coach. We really, really cannot thank you enough for your time. It was good. Sorry about being so weird initially about asking you to do the interview. Like a few months ago, that was me being on. You don't even remember, see?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't call it. I didn't think you were weird.
Cool. I was just making sure because I was.
I didn't think you were weird until you told me you were a Kentucky basketball fan. That one right there. That one. That was weird.
Family. Got to say it like Brian Kelly. Family ties.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, what do you know the fight song in Kentucky?
Do I look like I know the fight song to Kentucky?
Real fans would know the fight song. Do you know Rocky Tops?
Word for word. Word for word.
Man, I mean, I don't know. Just say it.
I mean,
I think that should be a requirement before you can be a fan of somebody. You should have to recite the fight song.
Agreed.
well, I have a fight phrase. It's on the wall. It's on the wall. Brian Kelly said he's keeping receipts. So, keep the receipts. Man, good talk ball. Hadn't been on TikTok as much. Hadn't really, just paying attention to Kentucky basketball. Not about to be able to watch it near as much. Hell, I hope I'm off on Saturday enough time to watch the Gonzaga game. But thank you for your time tonight, Coach.
You bet, man.
We really, really appreciate you, Coach. If there's any future collaborations you want to do, just holler at us, Coach.
Sounds good, brother. Appreciate you guys, man.
Yes, sir. God bless you, Coach. Hey, we ran long, Jamie, but that was.
Oh, I feel sleepy.
Dude, I feel you. My back's hurting from standing up so long.
Yeah.
But man, I really am just grateful for that. It felt like I was in one of his lives, just talking ball and like to see the insights, like you said, just learning and soaking up all the ball and all this. So thank y'all, all the people that have tuned in, man. Can't thank y'all enough, man. Like, as we get ready for Christmas, I mean, me and Jamie are gonna do the show on Tuesday nights now. We can probably. I'd like to do it earlier than 8, but if you can't, that's fine.
No, earlier is better.
What?
The earlier is better.
Man. Well, I know that sometimes you be getting off at like 5:30 if bullshit happens because it's winter time.
4:30.
I mean, you want to start doing it at 6?
Yeah, that's fine. 6, 7, something like that.
Yeah, 6 to 7 o'clock would be a lot better, dude. Because, man, I gotta take Mangy out. But man, God bless y'all all. Like, really, all the glory goes to God for the opportunities, man. Like, even when we're struggling in things in our personal lives outside of TikTok, the Lord is always here, and that's when He wants us to call on Him the most. Without God, Jamie and I wouldn't be here right now. I think it was a God thing putting Jamie and I in each other's lives as much as we are now, because, just football has always brought me and this man together, and I'm very, very appreciative. And I hate Jacob had to miss this episode, but safe travels to the man, Jacob. God bless you all. Go Tigers and go Dogs this weekend, baby.
Almost, baby.
See y'all Tuesday night.